Здравейте отново! Завръщаме се с един изключително чакан панел. Няма нужда да казвам нищо повече, но пък смятам да пуснем един клип, преди да поканим нашия скъп гост на сцената.
Egyptian mayor, morning edition, run!
Did you say...
This is for you. Thank you.
A British tar is a soaring soul, as free as a mountain bird.
It's the guy! Hey. It's the killer!
Toss me. What? I cannot jump the distance, you'll have to toss me. Don't tell the elf.
Not a word.
Oh, yes, the dwarves that go swimming with little hairy women.
I feel something. A slight tingle in my fingers. I think it's affecting me.
What did I say? He can't hold his liquor. I thought I'd die fighting side by side with an elf.
What about side by side with a friend?
Ladies and gentlemen, can we welcome on stage John Rhys Davies? It's such a pleasure to have you, John. Please take a seat.
Right, well, it's fabulous being back here in Bulgaria. You are an amazing people. You are bright, intelligent, and multilingual. By God, every one of you speaks better English than I do. Very good. I suppose you want to start this off, don't you?
Sure, take a seat.
Go on. God,
Guys,
I'll never get out of this.
I am sure you have a lot of questions for John, so the microphone is here in the middle. Feel free to queue up. If your question is in Bulgarian, I will help. Oh, wow, okay.
Oh, God, we're already here for 3 hours, I can tell.
I
Right.
just have one quick question that I was thinking about. If you had to choose to have a friend between Gimli and Salah, who would you choose?
Galadriel.
For obvious reasons, I think. Okay, let's get into it.
Hello, first of all, welcome to Bulgaria. You have one very long and may I add successful career. What is the difference now and then before for your first movies and for this year's movies last year? what is the difference between the vibe between everything that is done in movies?
I was fortunate enough to start off in the theatre when there was still theatre in England. So I spent my first 13 years basically as a stage actor with a little bit of wonderful television in between and the very occasional movie. The very first movie I did was The Black Windmill with Michael Caine. I got blown up before the credits. In fact, I don't even think I've got a credit in the darn thing. But the difference between now and then is there were a lot of movies, there were a lot of opportunities to make money out of movies. We had VHS, and then we had DVDs. And that meant that if you were an independent film producer, you knew that you could afford to pay that little bit extra because you'd be able to sell the American market or the Bulgarian market or the French market. And you could work out basically how many extra pieces of profit that you could make. As you notice, I have these splendid shoes,
Yes.
which are Snoop Dogg. Now, I realize that you imagine that I am the sinecure of fashion, but I wear them out of respect to that acute man, Snoop Dogg, who pointed out the other day that when he made 500,000 records or CDs for $5 a piece, he knew, or 5 million rather, he knew exactly what he was going to get back. But these days, it all goes to streaming, and he says, how do we know anything about what we're going to get back? The first thing is that cinema seems to have collapsed. So you have no idea what your film is really grossing. Because if it gets into the cinema, 3 weeks later it's being released on Netflix or something else. The truth is we don't know. We don't know where the money goes, and therefore everyone is very concerned about making anything. The second thing is we don't have any ways of monitoring popularity anymore. My agent used to be able to say, my client, Rhys Davies, has been in, what, $6.5, $7 billion worth of movies at the box office, which gave producers some idea that I might be worth paying 10 bob to or $25 or something like that. We don't have that anymore. So everyone is lost. And of course, the studios these days don't really have any, they have accountants running the studios and not people who could say, you know what, that's a good story. I like that. I don't care what you say. Let's make that story. And people who do not understand about story, and they've all gone to these story courses and, you know, how to construct a story, and they imagine that that actually means that they know how to write a story. They don't. So it's very, very different. And of course, actors these days can't find any stages to do their stage work. I made most of my mistakes, not all of them, I'm still making them, on the stage. When you're a young actor, you know that you are the best actor that's ever been. And you come on, and it's a small part, but you've decided that you are going to do it in a way it's never been done before. And you come on that first night, and you do it. and the whole audience goes, oh. And you realize why it's never been done that way before. And you've got to live for the next 3 weeks trying to find a performance and dying every night if you don't find it. By and large, we learn more from our mistakes than we do our successes. I merely pass that on to you, not to encourage you to make mistakes, but just as a reminder that mistakes can be beneficial. Sorry, that's enough, isn't it? I prattled on too much.
Thank you. Guys, can I just remind you, just one question each, please. One question, very strictly.
I hope you have many, many, many mistakes.
Indeed, yes. Believe me, I will. I do. On a daily basis, sadly. Go on.
Thank you for joining us today. And Lord of the Rings is a masterpiece of our lifetime, and it's made by artisans and storytellers, just as you said. I wanted to ask you about a lesser-known series that you participated in. It was something I watched after school, and it fascinated me. I found it randomly. It's called Sliders. Not too many people, I think, know about it. At least I haven't met that many. Could you share some memories from that production? Did you find it interesting? Did it leave a mark on you?
You mean before I kicked up such a fuss that they finally let me go by sacking me? Yes. Now, first of all, for those of you who don't know anything about Sliders, it's about a group of 4 people who essentially accidentally find a method of jumping into alternative universes. And for those of you who miss it, the 4 of us, Jerry O'Connor, Sabrina Lloyd, Clevant Derricks, and I urge you to sign a petition, Bring Back Sliders, which you will find online. And the 4 of us have decided that if we were invited back, we know how we would make it work this time. And with the modern technology, it might be quite good. By the way, I have a real interest in science, and particularly in astronomy. Foolishly, and you've no idea how or why, I'm a fellow of the Royal Astronomical Society. I know that much about astronomy. No, that much about astronomy. Anyway, one of the things that I do champion is a marvelous thing called NASA. NASA is one of the glories of mankind. NASA, when asked, I said to them, you do realize that the first great wonder of the world was the Great Pyramid of Khufu, or Cheops, whichever way we want to call him. He spent 20 years with 2 alternating teams of 500,000 people to build the Great Pyramid of Giza. NASA put a man on the moon in less than 10 years. Now, the great telescope that you should watch, because it might be falling out of the sky, is the Hubble. But Hubble has been replaced by 2 more telescopes. Well, not really replaced. The James Webb, which is the greatest engineering feat that man has ever put into space, and the forthcoming thing, which is called the Nancy Grace Roman Wide Field Telescope. That will be launched in September. Why should you pay any attention to it? Well, it's got a 300 megapixel camera. It will download data at the rate of 1.4 terabytes a day. And it has very modest aims and intentions. It will map an area of the sky with the focus of Hubble And it will cover more of the sky in 1 year than it would take Hubble 2,000 years to do. More than this, its real purpose is threefold, actually. One, to gather evidence for the existence of dark energy and dark matter. Two, to image exoplanets. And in the course of its lifetime, it will find hundreds of thousands of planets going around distant stars. And thirdly, it's going to take and make a 3D image, a 3D map of the universe. Pretty ambitious stuff. And as one smart lady whispered in my ear, she said, and of course, the fourth thing is, it might actually tell us that everything we know about the universe is wrong. And that's the real challenge. Anyway, back to sliders. Yeah, nice show. Hope you enjoyed it.
Mr. Davies, thank you for being here. As far as I know, all the three Lord of the Rings films were filmed back-to-back, but by the time when you were first cast for Gimli, did you have the right to share the news with your family, or the non-disclosure agreement was towards them as well? Thank you.
Well, they knew we were doing Lord of the Rings. My family then had my darling old wife, who actually was suffering from dementia, and so she didn't make out a great deal of understanding of what I was doing. My eldest son, who was absolutely an avid Lord of the Rings fan, and he told me actually that I should do the part when I really didn't want to do the part. And my youngest son, who hated it, and I tried to read it to him, and together we fell asleep all the time. But I did get it in the end, as you can imagine. Was there any other part of that question that I have managed to avoid? Because I try to avoid questions as much as I can, yes. Go on.
Did you have the right to tell your family you were cast in the movies?
Yes. Though the original title of it, to keep it hidden from everybody, was A History of the Boy Scout Movement in New Zealand in 3 parts.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Hello, sir. Thank you for joining us in Bulgaria today. A lot of the older generation, like my fathers, might have known you from your from Shogun, the miniseries, working with Richard Chamberlain. So, do you have any fond memories of shooting in Japan with him?
First of all, shooting Shogun was one of the great learning experiences of my life. Richard Chamberlain led that cast and that company in a way that no other actor that I've worked with before has had such challenges and rose to them. It was hot. It was humid. We didn't have the stomach for Japanese food then. We longed for a hamburger. And it was a tough schedule. The Japanese didn't much like us filming there, but were too polite to say so. We were meant to be 3 weeks. Don't forget, we've got a 5-month shoot. 20 weeks. The first 3 weeks we were in Tokyo. We could barely get any work done, and we went a month over. It became 7 weeks. And that meant we were really in trouble. The cast was superb. The Japanese actors were matchless. The great Toshiro Mifune. Yes, Richard himself. Damien Thomas, who alas died last year as well. That wonderfully handsome young Jesuit priest who does the simultaneous translation. Vladek Szabel, one of the great Hamlets of his day, who came out of Warsaw, I think. Either Warsaw, yes, Ashes and Diamonds, he was in that. A great cast. The saddest story of all, I was looking at, I might be going back to Japan sometime to probably do a Lord of the Rings convention. And I thought I'd look up all my old friends there, and so many of them are dead. You remember the nasty, cruel man who boils the Englishman in the pot? Cruel man. He was a comedian in Japan. A lovely man, very funny, very gentle, and a wonderfully cruel and sadistic character. But the saddest story about most of them are dead now. The saddest story of all was Mieko. You remember Mieko? She is the girl the only girl really in the story. Mieko was called Yoko Shimada, or Shimada Yoko, as they say in Japan. She was a popular singer, and she was really quite successful. When Shogun came out, there was nowhere in the world where Shogun was shown and seen that they did not say, wow, who is that superb actress and that beautiful girl? I don't know what happened afterwards. I think she was in LA for a while, and then she went back to Japan, but somehow something happened in her career. I have a beautiful book of her doing a series of very nude photographs, which I frankly relish. I think she was beautiful in any way. But she just disappears. And I was going to track her down, and then I discovered that just 3 years ago now, she was admitted into a Tokyo hospital with terminal bowel and intestinal cancer. Nobody came to see her. Nobody claimed the body when she died. And they cremated her, and some months later, somebody came up and said, I know where her parents' ashes are. I will sprinkle them there. How you can go from that measure of stardom to complete oblivion and vanish like that should terrify every actor or actress in the world. It is extraordinary. And they all seem to have died off. Richard died, and Damien died, and everybody else has died. Of course, there is one dwarf yet that walks and is not intending to go just yet. But it was one of the great shows of all time. And next to Roots, the second most watched American miniseries at that time. Here's to Richard. God bless you, old boy, and the rest of you.
Thank you. Can we have the next one, please?
Hi, Mr. Davis. I would like to ask you about a film you starred in, you acted in 1984 called Sword of the Valiant, The Legend of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. You did a fantastic job as Baron Fortinbras. You brought a certain...
bluster?
Yes.
A certain exuberance?
He was a man who could fill any room. My question is this. Could you tell us any personal anecdotes about working with your co-star, the late, great Sean Connery?
Well, Sean, who, when we talk about men and alpha males, Sean was the ultimate alpha male, you know? You know, when those little eyes sort of closed in a little smile and those thin, rather blue lips pursed slightly, women of all ages, from 13 to 106, all went, "Oh, Sean." Ronnie Lacey, by the way, who was with me in Raiders of the Lost Ark, you know, he's the nasty Nazi who gets the imprint of one part of the thing burnt into his hand. Ronnie Lacey was 8 years older than me, and in Sword of the Valiant, he played my son. He was very pleased with that. It was an extraordinary picture. The whole point of the Gawain and the Green Knight story is that Gawain is chaste. And when the Green Knight comes to the court and challenges anyone in the court of Arthur to swing, to take a sword and cut his head off, and if he fails to do that, then he will come back in a year's time and cut off whoever in the court of Arthur dared to have done it. And everyone in the court of Arthur goes, wait a minute, this guy is green and he's a giant. This probably is not a smart move. Everyone is quiet. But Sir Gawain, fearing for the loss of face of King Arthur himself, he said, "I will do it." And he takes his sword, and the Green Giant presents his neck. He goes, chop. The Green Giant's head falls to the ground, and then the giant picks it up and puts it back on his head and said, "I will come for you in 1 year." Gawain goes off. He's not gonna wait for the giant to come. He'll find him, he'll track him down, because his heart is pure. And when he actually gets very close, he is invited into a castle, and then the lady of the castle tries to seduce him. But Gawain, because he is pure, absolutely says no. And so when the Green Knight takes, she gives him a scarf, and he keeps the scarf round his neck. And when the giant takes his swing at it, he cuts the scarf and just a tiny bit of the neck, because he shouldn't have taken the scarf from the woman. But because his heart is pure, Gawain lives. Now that's the original story. This chap, Weeks, who wrote the thing, he decided that the whole point of the story is that it should be very sexy. So Gawain has a wonderful night with the girl, you know, the woman in the castle, and, you know, and I tried to point it out to him. Look, the whole point of the story is Gawain doesn't, and your Gawain does. it actually doesn't make any sense of the story. And he'd actually done the film once before, apparently. He still didn't get it. But there were two wonderful, memorable moments of it. One, the young actor who played Gawain, what was his name again? He played Tarzan or something like that, hadn't he? Anyway, he had a wig. And I was in the makeup, and I turned, and I saw this wig on his head, and I burst out laughing, and I said, "Great! It's a great look. You should wear that in the set. It's incredibly funny." That was his wig for the part. He looked like Doris Day. It was excruciating, yes. But Sean himself, Sean came in, he helicoptered, we were filming in a castle in France. Sean came in by helicopter on Monday morning. He worked Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He finished his filming, got back into the helicopter with £1 million in cash, and went back to Monaco, where he was living at the time. And he was wonderful. It's the only thing worth watching in it, isn't it? Miles O'Keefe. Yeah. Miles O'Keefe, yes. With that ridiculous Doris Day haircut. Never mind, beg pardon.
Thank you very much. I would retort, it was also wonderful to see you. We love you, sir.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Hello, and thank you for being here. I have a question about the TV series that you were a guest star. It was called The Legend of the Seeker, and I wanted to ask you if you knew about the first Wizard's Rule book before you accepted, and actually why did you accept the role?
There are a couple of series that I've never seen. The Legend of the Seeker was that... what part did I play in that?
Well, in the beginning of the episode, you played something like a bard that found the main characters, but then it turned out that you were the father of the evil guy.
Okay, I've no idea. Never saw it. Yes, was it any good?
Well, the books are good. The TV series were not, and that's why I wanted to ask you. Why did you...
I'm really helpless and hopeless for you, aren't I? I beg your pardon. I am so sorry. There are parts you play and you realize as you're doing it that nobody's ever going to see the damn thing anyway. And even if they do, they'll be eternally puzzled. But there are one or two other things like that. I did a series where I thought it was The Legend of the Seeker, but it was something else. We had 21 approved on air before we even did the pilot. And then we did the pilot, and yep, we're definitely going. Yep, no, the show is booked. It's on. Until somebody said, no, actually, we're not doing it. Because they concentrated all their ideas on the pilot, and nobody had a clue what they were going to do with 21 episodes afterwards. Can't remember the name of that one either.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi, John. Less of a question and more of a request. Could you take a moment to explain, in the way that you do, what made the original concept of sliders so special?
Yes. A young student who is a bit of a genius creates a little device that actually opens up a wormhole, and quite accidentally, he, his girlfriend, his professor, and a wonderful singer called the Crying Man all go through this wormhole accidentally and find themselves in an alternate universe. And they're trying to get back home. And, well, let's not spoil it for the others. You'll catch it. It really started off rather well. There were some good original ideas, and then it really became, you know, it became a show where the writers were sitting in the room, and they, you know, I went in one day and they were watching one of the films that had just come out, and they were going, you know, yes, we could take a bit from that and do it this way, and then you know. And I said, gentlemen, you know, I've worked with real writers who would, you know, come up with original ideas. We've done the Eloy and the Morlocks from the H.G. Wells Time Machine. We did Twister, only our Twister was, you know, an ordinary Twister, you know, is narrowed down at Earth and gets wider and wider and wider. The difference with ours, it was bigger down the below. You know, trying to explain to them that physics doesn't quite work like that. Then there was the time we had not one, not two, but I think three. We originally had 3 neutron stars entering the solar system. And the rate at which they turned meant that once a day, Earth would be covered in a beam of X-rays. And they said, but John, this is right. I said, yes, you're right. They do emit X-rays, but first of all, they rotate at something like, it varies, but, you know, think about 48 times a second. And more than that, you understand that a neutron star is immensely dense. If one of them came even near our solar system, our stars would be, our planets would be flung all over the place. And you got 3. I think we cut it down to 2 in the end. But the science just got hokier and hokier. And then we had a magic healing our hero when he died, you know, and you think, you know, come on, there should be real science behind science fiction. And it does help if you have read some science fiction, or even actually know a little bit about science. It was not a happy experience, let me tell you. Okay, but if we get it back, we'll be vetting the stories, and a lot of them, before we make them. That's the idea anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. It is so nice to be able to speak to you. Lord of the Rings is my favorite book. I wanted to know what your favorite book is.
There is a wonderful series, a musical series in England called Desert Island Discs, in which you're allowed to name 6 of your favorite records, but you are allowed to take the Bible and Shakespeare as your reading material, and you can choose one luxury item if you like. How difficult it would be. It would probably be, well, if I'd got to Shakespeare there, complete works of Shakespeare, I would be very, very happy, I think. I don't know. Lord of the Rings, Tolkien is a giant and a man who gets everything right in life. And very few of us ever begin to get half of that right. But for me, it has no real interest. Well, yes, it does. It's wonderful, but it's not my sort of literature. But you asked me what my favorite book would be. I try to read 2 or 3 books a week. I tell you, don't bother to read Stendhal, The Charterhouse of Parma. God, what a tedious book he is. Writer he is. I don't know. Probably in popular fiction, I'd take the complete works of Isaac Asimov. Arthur C. Clarke, by the way, I've got a friend of mine called Chris Stott, who is who wants to build data storage on the moon. And I'm going to see a launch. I'm going to see the Nancy Grace Roman launch, actually, in September rather. And then I think in October or November, we've got another launch at Canaveral to put another rocket up there that will actually be the first data storage rocket going on a polar orbit around the Earth. But he knew Arthur C. Clarke. And Clarke told him something that I found amazing. Hal, do you remember Hal from 2001, A Space Odyssey? I'm sorry, I can't let you do that. That wonderful computer that seizes control of the thing, it's called HAL. And apparently Clarke had decided on the name by just transposing the letters one way. So he transposed the letters to the left, so the word that he was looking at comes from right of HAL. So H is followed by I. The second letter of HAL is A, is followed by B. So you've got I, B. Guess what the third letter is? What is the letter after L? M, IBM. Wasn't that naughty of Clarke to be able to do that? Yes, oh, sorry, that was completely irrelevant, wasn't it? But I liked it anyway.
Thank you. Guys, we're going to have time for 2 more questions only. I am so sorry. 2 more questions.
Oh, come on. I've been talking too long and there are dozens of people there. Look, I'll tell you what, why don't we just have a speed question? All right, ask your question.
Okay, let's do speed and we'll see.
I'm going to be as fast as I can. Okay, I have a friend of mine who wants to ask you a question. She's a really, really big fan. So her question is, would you be looking forward to reprising or doing a role for the upcoming The Hunt for Gollum movie?
No.
Thank you.
Next question.
Okay, that was a speed one.
Hello, John. First, thank you for being here. My question is this. One of my favorite things about Lord of the Rings is the interactions between Gimli and Legolas, and they're very funny and heartfelt, etc. Do you have a Gimli Legolas interaction that is yours, that is your favorite in particular for any reason?
You mean you want me to be embarrassed by that little pointy-eared shit?
Well,
you mean you want to see me going?
Well, for the record...
That's enough! No more embarrassment. Next question.
Thank you.
My question is a Gimli and Treebeard question. Not everybody is aware, actually, that you're not just Gimli, you're also Treebeard. So how did you reconcile playing both characters? Was there a dichotomy there between them, or did you find yourself channeling one into the other?
Good Lord, no. The answer to Treebeard is that Peter Jackson came and said, would you like to do Treebeard? And I said, oh yes, thinking, more money, wonderful, wonderful. Then the nightmare began. How do you create a walking, talking tree that has no lungs? What sort of... It's also the oldest thing on Earth. How do you get the gentleness and the power? I still wake up at night in a sweat, not knowing how to do it. Next question.
Let's see how many we can get in 5 minutes, guys.
Hello. So in The Hobbit, the actors that play the dwarves went to training to be able to move like dwarves. Did you do anything like that? And if so, what did it consist of?
I wouldn't train a dwarf. You're either a dwarf inside or you're useless. But with those hobbity dwarves, let me tell you something. After they had the definitive dwarf of all times in The Lord of the Rings, I name no names out of any modesty at all, but after they did that, you can tell what went on in the studio heads. Right, okay, now the dwarves, and now who's going to play the leading woman? Sir, there are no women in the book. What do you mean there are? You mean there are no women in The Hobbit? Well, I thought you'd know. Of course I've read it. Of course I've read it. Well, put some women in The Hobbit. I mean, if it hasn't got any women in it, what's it about? Well, it's about a hobbit and 13 dwarves, sir. 13 dwarves? All looking like bloody Rhys Davies? Screw that. Listen, find me 2 handsome-looking men. Just give them the slightest hint of a foreign-looking face, and screw the rest. We've got to have, and get some women in there. We've got to have some romance. Yes, okay, that's how it went. Sorry.
Next.
I have a simple question. Did you have your second breakfast today? Your 11Zs, your lunch? Did you enjoy them? And do you have some leftovers, perhaps, because me and Mary ran out of rations?
If I had, as a dwarf, I would, of course, not share it with you. But yes.
First of all, thank you for being here. My question is, if you are our guide to all of us in Middle-earth, what was the first place that you will take us? But say it as Gimli, please.
The first place that I would take you to is actually the reopened mines of Moria as a tourist attraction that I, Gimli myself, have reopened for the edification of the ignorant world. And then keep away from all those pointy-eared kingdoms, There's something suspicious about people who can walk on snow and not leave a mark, if you know what I mean.
Thank you.
Guys, I'm really sorry to say this, but this is the last question.
We'll do them quickly, quick.
Go.
Don't thank me. Don't tell me what movies I've done. I've heard it 19,000 times. Go on.
As someone who's familiar with Tolkien's work inside and out, and you've been part of it, what do you think, what's your opinion on the character of Boromir?
Interesting. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting is the answer, yeah. Go on.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for being here. May I ask, is there a historic figure that you dream to portray someday in a biopic?
Interesting question, that. I'd like to have a stab at Churchill one day, but everybody's done him. But I would also like to have a go at that wonderful Knight of Malta. Come on, what's the harbour? What's the great harbour in Malta again? De Valletta. I'd like to play one of those great masters, fighting and, fighting at the age of about 70 and, still going up there and putting the stones back on in the siege. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you so much.
Next.
Thank you.
Hi, I wanted to ask you, how did the Lord of the Rings change your life? And are you going to participate in the Hunt of Gollum?
No. No, I'm not invited. I can't do it anyway. I'm too old, really. Well, it's not that. It's just that when I was 55, I could carry 38 kilos extra and run up hills. Now I'm 82. I really don't want to do that. Next question.
Thank you for being here. If you could be any race and profession in Middle-earth, what would you be?
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to be a pointy-eared, would I? I would like to really write the true story of the Lord of the Rings, how it was led, in fact, by a very attractive, a dynamic, a spectacularly attractive and genius and of a dwarf, and how the rest followed, actually. History is sometimes written by the little ones. Yeah. Next.
Thank you.
Hi, sorry for my speech I prepared, but my question is, if you may choice to pick one movie to shoot between Lord of the Rings and Indiana Jones, who is your choice?
Yes. Next question.
Hi, if you could play any other character in Lord of the Rings?
Galadriel. Next question.
Hello. Very quickly, in your experience as an actor, what would you say makes a good script? With just a few words.
What would I say? What?
Makes a good script.
Make a good script, a damn good story. In principio erat verbum, et verbum caro factum est. In the beginning is the word, and the actor's job is to make it flesh. Carry on.
Thank you.
Next.
I wanted to ask you, I have read that you took Gimli sax from the set. May I ask, do you still use it?
No, we don't. I did take an axe, yes. I got given an axe. But we didn't steal props in those days. Next question.
Hi, sir. Honored to meet you. For the sake of every single nerd here, if you were ever to decide to cosplay, who would you cosplay? Which character?
Oh, I'd play Legolas, wouldn't I? Next.
Hello, sir. I'm very proud to see you in real life. And my question is, how does it feel to play the most charismatic character in the trilogy? And how does it feel to be the inspire for almost all Lothar community here, cosplayers?
Gimli, of course, is a giant. And it would be an honor for any of you to play the inner dwarf. But all of you, every single man, woman, and child here must find the inner dwarf. For when you have that, there is nothing in the world that you cannot conquer. Next question.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Davies. My question is, if in the future you play in Star Wars movie, which character would you play?
Sorry, I didn't hear the first part of it. What was that?
If in the future, in some Star Wars movie, would you play some character? And
Yes.
what it would be?
The lead. Next.
Hi, I wanted to ask you what inspired you to play in the movie.
What inspired me to play in which movie?
Lord of the Rings.
I think you need to see The Princess Diaries 2. Because you are clearly a princess yourself.
Thank you.
And And all I can say is that I got a very bad press from the Princess Diaries too, because they think that I am the bad guy.
You're clearly not. Thank you, bye.
Take care, darling. You're wonderful. Thank you very much.
Let's give a huge round of applause.
You are a wonderful audience, as you are a wonderful people. And I do thank you for having me. And sorry for keeping you so long. And you were best.
I didn't do anything. You did my job for me.
Bye all. Bye.